So once I had that trust and attachment with my adoptive parents at around age 9, that's when I started to be able to slowly open up. So what I did initially was drop little memories, here and there, just say little things that had happened to me just to test the waters and see how they would react, because I had never told anybody this before. I didn't know if I could trust them. I didn't know how they would react. So I would just drop small little things here and there, and the way they responded was so empathetic and so compassionate, and they just so judgment free. And that's what allowed me to continue opening up and continue sharing, and through many years of, talking and working through my trauma, and my parents, always pointing me back to God and the healing that is found in Him. That's really how I was able to heal, that, and the fact that my parents understood trauma and how trauma changes the brain and how it can also affect one's behavior, so that's really how I was able to do it. And also, from a young age, I wanted to fight it. I wanted to move past it, and that's another thing. So many people may not understand that if your child is not ready to work through their trauma, it's just not going to happen. You have to do it when they're ready. You can't ever force it.
Yeah. Wow. So I heard so many good things in there. Let's see if I can recap some of them. One was you tested the waters. Like you said some things, and had your parents diminished that or said, come on, that couldn't have happened, or you're exaggerating, what would that have done to you?
It would have shut me off completely. I wouldn't have continued opening up. I would have just kept it bottled back up inside, because it would have been one more adult that I couldn't trust, one more adult that didn't believe me, because for so long, no one, you feel like no matter what you say, no one's going to hear what you have to say because you're just a kid, so when you finally have someone who's willing to hear what you have to say and, will empathize with you and not cast judgment, it's life-changing.
That's amazing. So one thing I heard is they were very understanding. They were a safe place for you to speak. So they allowed you to speak. They listened, they believed you, and they loved you. They walked with you. You also said they were trauma informed. And so they understood that sometimes your behaviors or the things you were thinking or talking about maybe was like they saw beyond that, right? The negative, is that true? I guess I'm just assuming when you say this, but they saw beyond the outward behaviors and saw into your heart. And then another thing you said that's so key is they pointed you to Jesus. And it's been a long process.
Yes, very long. Yeah, and honestly, I feel like with healing, it's not one of those things that you can just wake up one day and just say, I'm fully healed. The pain,
Yeah.
unfortunately, never goes away. It's always going to hurt. It's just a matter of how much it hurts and how much power you let it have.
Speak more to that, how much power you let it have.
Yeah, well, keeping it bottled inside, not talking about it, and just not letting, it off your chest, it still allows those who hurt you to have control over you, even though they don't realize it. Because all over time, that's going to start affecting how you live your life. It's going to start affecting your happiness, your relationships, So if you don't talk about it and you don't share it with somebody, it's going to take a toll on you, and it's really going to affect your quality of life.
Which is so counterintuitive, right? Because probably the last thing you want to do in a lot of ways is talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the last thing you want to do is talk about it, but it is also the most rewarding thing you can possibly do for yourself. And if you want to be successful, you got to move past your trauma. You got to talk about it, because our brains are not meant to handle that kind of trauma, that kind of pain. It's just not meant to. We're not designed to handle that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it will take its toll.
And what are some ways do you think, and have you seen, or maybe what you know from trauma yourself, what ways does it take its toll if you don't talk about it?
Well, one big thing is that, for those who have complex developmental trauma like that and who don't talk about it, don't ever get help, around the mid-20s, it could manifest into mental illness such as anxiety, or in some severe cases, some other more significant disorders as well, depression or whatever. It can also just, you know, it can cause trust issues, which then can make friendships hard, can make relationships hard. It can make attaching to your parents more difficult. It can lead to sabotaging behaviors, some self-destructive behaviors that no one wants to face. It can make learning difficult. It really affects so many different aspects. And it can also affect your physical health, because there's a thing called ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, where if you have enough, so it's basically a list of different traumas, and the more you have, the more likely you are to experience some physical problems, physical illnesses, that there's a correlation there. But, but talking about it, working through it, can help avoid a lifetime of suffering and pain.